The first what we're going to cover is to take a look at the expected charges on your account. We'll also take a look at where you need to go for help with the various charges and items that might appear on your bill. We will also take a look at a student account worksheet, which is something that we've developed in the business office to assist families, parents primarily, but also it's good for students to take a look at it to determine exactly what their obligation is for the fall semester. We've made that worksheet very intuitive, very explanatory, so that you can fill that out on your own. But we're still going to take a walk through it and explain the different items on there. We'll also talk about the payment due date, check-in and sail-through letters, our payment plans, what we have available, how you can take advantage of those. And then we will also talk about other finance office services that we offer. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the charges and the statement of account. The first bullet item on the PowerPoint talks about there being tuition, student activity fee, technology fee, a key charge, and a room and meal plan. So what I'd like to do is to take a look at something that we've put in your orientation packet, and that is pink, and it provides the charges that you might see on your student account. What you'll see is there are some charges at the top, and also there's another set at the bottom. One thing that you'll notice is that there are two columns. There's a per semester, and then there is also a full year. And that is because what the business office is going to do is bill you by semester. But how families need to plan to pay for their first year is by the full year. So we're providing both. If you get a bill that shows that you have no charge for a room or a meal plan, you might wonder why that is. First off, you should be getting your first bills in the first week of July. So you're going to get the bill, you'll open it up, and you'll take a look, and you'll see, no room charge or meal plan charge. If you expect that your son or daughter is going to be on campus for the fall semester, then that is something that you want to address right away. That means that we don't believe or we don't have the information that your son or daughter is going to be on campus, and we need to fix that. So if you don't see a room charge or meal plan charge, that's because we don't think your son or daughter is on campus. And if they are, you think so, then we need to get that fixed. Second question would be that your bill shows no financial aid credits and why. On this particular bill, you'll see that there's a big white space following the key charge. If you see that on your bill, that space is reserved for financial aid. So if you don't see anything in that space, that means, though you may have an award letter, your son or daughter may have an award letter that spells out their financial aid awards for the semester, what it means if you don't see it on a statement is that there's something incomplete, something that either you as the parent or responsible party or the student has not yet done in order to finalize their financial aid. So this is not a bill that you want to receive as your first bill in July. You want to see one that actually has the financial statement charges. So you do not want to get a bill that only shows charges without any financial aid. If you do, it means there is something more that your family needs to do in order to make sure that that financial aid ends up coming through on the account and getting credited to the account. You've received a statement, and it shows your charges, and it shows your financial aid, and there's something about it that you don't think is correct. What should you do about that? Well, of course, you're going to want to contact our financial aid office. We'll give you very specific contact information. Okay, this is really important. The last question that I have listed on this slide says, is there any way I can be sure that the college has received everything it needs to ensure we receive all of our financial aid? I share with families 3 very important words: ready to disperse. If you ask that question, it is very meaningful to our financial aid office. So if you were to call and say, I received a bill, it didn't have any financial aid on it, we've done now what we were supposed to do, our son or daughter has done what they were supposed to do, am I done? So a lot of times you'll ask the question that way, but what I'm going to suggest is you say, am I ready to disperse? Is my son or daughter ready to disperse? Because if the answer to that question is yes, then the next bill that you receive will show all the financial aid, and there is nothing more that needs to be done. So that is the answer that you want to get. That covers what you can expect to see on your bill. There are really 4 offices, and 3 of them are located on the same floor in the same location. The first office that has input into your bill, but the first office that has input into your bills is obviously the finance office, and we put the charges on your bill. We are responsible for crediting payments and so forth on your bill. So if there's anything that's already appearing on your bill and you have a question about it, then that's a finance office question. The finance office is located on the 3rd floor of College Center in room 317, and we have given you a phone number and also an email address. And you'll notice that the email address says cashier@wesley.edu is our financial planning office. If you have any questions at all about your financial aid package, if there are loans not showing on your account and you expect that they will be, if you need an adjustment in those loans, you need to increase it, you need to decrease it, the financial planning office is the office that you want to contact. And you'll see that we've given you their phone number as well, and an email address, financialaid@wesley.edu, but that shoots out to multiple people when it comes into that mailbox, so that's a good place. And they are also located on the 3rd floor of College Center. The 3rd office that's on the 3rd floor is the registrar's office, and the registrar's office is where your students register for classes and so forth. So what's really important is I would recommend for families to ask their students to make it up to that office one of their first days here and find out where they are. So families who are on campus for orientation, we actually recommend that they take their students to the 3rd floor and let them see where the various offices are, because the contact they're going to get is going to be from one of our offices, and when they need to respond to that, they'll need to know where to go. So it is a worthwhile visit for them. I would recommend that they do that first week of school. The 4th office is the Residence Life office. It's on the 1st floor of College Center, and your contact for anything having to do with life on campus, rooms, meal plans, etc., should be directed to Kevin Hansberry at wesley.edu, and we've provided his email address as well and his phone number. And that concludes where to go for help. Welcome to the student account worksheet. Okay, so let's take a look at it. It is yellowish, and it starts on line A, amount due per semester from enclosed schedule of charges. The student account worksheet is a tool that we designed that helps you determine how much of your balance is actually due to the college by the July 25th due date. And we've given you good explanations on there. But I'm going to walk you through the line items just briefly, and if you have any questions, anyone in the finance office, we've given you their phone number and their email address, anyone can help you. We're all very well versed in that worksheet. Your enclosed schedule of charges is what we looked at together. You're going to start with the higher of the two, which is the $17,480. Now, when we are working through this worksheet, what we're going to do is actually work it through for a semester. One single semester, but as I said, that's how we're going to bill you. That's how we're going to ask you to meet your obligation. But if you're going to meet that obligation with either loans or payment plans, then you really do need to plan for the year. So I'll show you how we've incorporated that in this worksheet. So initially, we're going to start out with the per semester charges. So the amount on line A, amount due per semester from the enclosed schedule of charges, I would recommend that you put the $17,480, which is one semester, the highest room. So we'll start with that. Then you should have also received an award letter from financial planning. And on that award letter, they also give you a per semester and an annual award. On line 1, we're going to allow you to deduct all of the awards from that new student award letter for one semester. So you enter that amount on line 1. Line 2 talks about outside scholarships. So it's not unusual for families to have gone out and sought their own scholarships. They may go to a Rotary Club, maybe a church, some business organization that their parents are a part of, and you may have obtained some of your own scholarships. couple of things I want to tell you about that. We'll allow you to take credit when meeting your obligation by the 25th. But what we ask is that you provide documentation to our student financial planning office as well. They need to incorporate that into your financial aid package. So we'll allow you on line 2 to deduct 1/2 of the full award. Now, why would you think 1/2? Because it's going to cover 2 semesters. So this worksheet initially is going to come down to the amount due for a semester. So I only want you to put half of the outside scholarships that we don't know about yet. Put half on that line and let our financial aid office know. Now, one thing that's important to know about that is that the college doesn't have any ability to follow up on those. So if you are bringing that kind of scholarship to the college to pay for the student account, monitor the statements, monitor the student account, and if you don't see it come in, then it is your responsibility to make sure that you contact whoever was gracious enough to give you that scholarship and make sure that it comes in. We don't follow up on those. So you're putting half of that scholarship amount on line 2. On line 3, there could be plus loans, parent plus loans, and I'm going to presume you've already watched the financial aid section and you know what those are. And if there's a plus loan that's not showing on your award letter because you didn't know to apply for it until going through SOAR, and now you're going to do that, we'll allow you to deduct that, but we do ask that you have a pre-approval. They're credit-based, so they're not guaranteed. So we ask for you to have a pre-approval for that before you put an amount on line 3. Okay? Again, how much are you going to put? 50%, correct, for the semester. Right. You're going to borrow for the year, but we're going to pay by the semester. And that's how we get our disbursements as well. We'll get them by semester. So we don't get the whole loan up front, which is also comforting to know because you can make adjustments. You know, you have some other scholarships you didn't know about. They come in later. You want to reduce loans. It's fine. But for now, you're planning for the year, but we're completing this worksheet for a semester. You put half of the amount on line 3. And then total all of your allowable deductions, and you see the instructions there to sum lines 1 through 3, and you put that amount on line B. So those are the amounts that will allow you to deduct. And then deduct that from line A, and what is left is the amount due before work-study adjustment. Okay, so let's talk about that for a moment because the work-study adjustment is important. Not all families, but many families get awarded with work-study. And work-study is an earned award. It is 150 hours for the semester, $1,125 per semester. Most of our students use that amount towards their bill. It's on the award letter. If you see it, it's on the award letter. On line 1, we've allowed you to deduct it. Some families, small number, some families will allow their students to actually keep those funds. In other words, if they're working, that might be their spending money, and they're not going to use it towards their bill. So if that's the case, and only if that's the case, you need to put an amount on line D, the federal work-study adjustment. So we've allowed you to deduct it on line 1. You're going to add it back here because you're not using it towards the bill. So we need you to add it back. And then if you have that adjustment, and again, most families won't, but if you do have that adjustment, then you will add that back, and line E shows the payment due for the current semester. So that would be line C plus line D. So that's the amount due on the current semester, line E. And then we talk about payment options. We stopped at the payment due, line E, for the current semester. Now's the time to talk about your payment options. And this is where you want to get your pen out. Mark on your worksheet that you have in front of you. I want you to underline and star one word. If you look under the payment options, the first one says the payment plan. And it says to double the amount on line E. Circle, underline, star that word double. Again, we're going to ask you to only pay for the semester, but we want you to plan for the year. So when you get on that payment plan, you really need to have the full year covered. If you don't double it, you're going to come up short because we'll download the information from the payment plan company and we'll take the amount that you signed up for and divide it in half. If you don't double it before you call them up. In your packet should be information. You should have also received an email from them directly about signing up for the payment plan if that's an option that your family uses, and many families do. Perfectly fine with us. We welcome those payment plan options. One important item down at the bottom, and we put it right on this worksheet because families are using that work study award to pay the student account balance, and that's fine with us. Always important, though, for me to reinforce to families and to students that that is an earned award. If there are 150 hours that they are supposed to work for the entire semester in order to earn their entire award, and they only work half, they're only going to get half. Because we've added it back, which means that you've made arrangements for that by some other means. So you've already made arrangements, either you've paid it, you've gotten on a payment plan, or you did your plus loan, so that we're not counting it, and that just means they have less to spend. Work study, this has happened, so I'd like to mention this in orientation presentations, especially with freshmen, because there's so much that they don't know. They may miss a meeting, they may get assigned to a job, and they can't make contact with their supervisor right away, and so they do nothing. Or they go on the job and they're not getting all the hours that they need, but they don't do anything. They can't work around their school schedule, so they stop there. Don't let your son or daughter do that, because if you're counting on that work study award, we have an amazing work study coordinator in our financial planning office. We have more jobs on campus than we have students who have been eligible for the work study award. So that means they like what they're doing, but they need more hours. We can fill it in with another job somewhere else. If their supervisor can't work with their class schedule, we can find them a job somewhere else. The important point is that they can't just stop. And for freshmen, they're not quite sure what they should do, so they just don't do anything. And how you can know as a parent whether they're working the hours, if you are planning to use that for your bill, what you'll see is their first paycheck, you'll want to see that credited towards their bill. That's what we do. We'll credit directly to their statement. So if you get a statement, you're expecting your student to be working, and you never see work study check credited, probably want to call your student. But you can call us at any time. That covers the student account worksheet. You should have gotten an email from Sally Mae. It may have gone to your son or daughter, so check with them. But we've also included in your orientation pack a small pamphlet of information. You can just call them and sign up directly. You just let them know it's Wesley College, and they have all the information there, so they can sign you up directly. I think there's also an online link. You can do it online as well. You have two options with that payment plan. The first option is to sign up in June. If you sign up in June, you make your first payment in June, and then you have a 10-month plan for the entire year. The total amount, double the amount on line E, you're going to call them up and say, I need a budget for this amount for my payment plan. And they're going to take that amount, they're going to divide it by 10 and say that's your monthly payment. And the first payment will start in June, you'll be done in March, and that will cover the entire year. At any point in time in that 10 months, if there is any adjustment that's needed, if you need to cancel it, if you only need it for one semester, let's say, some relative pays for the spring semester or something, you can cancel it. So it can be canceled, but there is a sign-up fee. If you sign up for only one semester and then the second semester, there's no interest attached to it, but there is an enrollment fee. So you'd have to pay 2 enrollment fees. If you sign up for the whole year and you cancel it, there's no penalty whatsoever. If you sign up in June, it's 10 monthly payments, and then you have a lower monthly payment than option 2, which is to wait and sign up in July. So if you sign up in July, the payments still need to be done by March, so it's a 9-month plan. The total amount from line E doubled, divided by 9, and that's your monthly payment. And they'll let you know what that is as well. Again, if you're on the 9-month plan, higher monthly payment because you're dividing it only over 9 months. An important point to note is that we have access to all the records for the payment plan. So we will know, we're going to talk about in just a moment the payment due date as being July 25th. We will use your payment plan information to decide whether you've made that deadline or not. So if you sign up in June or July and you've made your first payment, you're not delinquent on your payment plan, then we'll bring that information in and we'll count that towards your bill all up front. Half of it anyway. I think we are getting ready for the next segment, due date, check-in, sail-through. This is a very important part of the presentation that you've gone through on the payment due date, check-in and sail-through letters. And I am the controller for Wesley College. I have been here for 9 years, 6 as the director of finance, and then also taught in the business program for 2 years. Took a brief break from the college and am back, and so I know an awful lot about student accounts, the challenges that students have, and where they need to go for help. So I'm going to be conducting the session today on the finance office and the billing from the finance office. The first thing you want to do is you want to be ready to disperse, and if you are, and your financial aid, including loans, is sufficient to pay your bill, then we're satisfied with that. And also if you got on the payment plan, and we've looked at those numbers and it looks like you've satisfied it by getting on the payment plan. Now keep in mind, as I said before, some payment plans start in June, some payment plans start in July. We'll want to see that you've made your first payment. If you signed up in June, we're going to want to see that you made your first and second. We will get that information right from the payment plan company. But it's not good enough just to sign up, because we download that information and know if the account is in current status or not. And if it's not, then we don't count it. The second question, which is, if my payment arrangements are finalized by the due date, what special consideration do I get at check-in on Thursday, August 22nd? That is our check-in for freshmen, August 22nd. And what will happen is, shortly after the due date, July 25th, we'll start looking at accounts and demonstrated that you've made those arrangements. What we're going to do is be sending home a sail-through pass. So you want to keep your eyes on the mail. It is a very valuable pass, because what it gives you on check-in day is a stress-free day. So what happens is, you'll bring that card into our residence life area, student life area. You'll give them that card, they'll give you an official schedule. With that official schedule, you take that, you get your information to check into your dorm, your key, etc., and you're in. Very simple, very easy, very stress-free. Don't worry about it if you should happen to forget yours at home. You've done what you were supposed to do, and we will have lists. We will know that you're cleared and entitled to a sail-through pass, and we'll give you another one on the spot. If your payment arrangements are not finalized by the due date, then what are the consequences? What can you expect? If you don't have a sail-through pass, then there will be an area. You will have to go to that area, and you will need to spend some time talking to financial aid, clearing all those things that you should have had cleared by the 25th. Then you will be waiting some more and speaking to our finance office folks to talk about how you're going to meet the balance, if there is one, or that your financial aid did cover you, and we'll evaluate that and be able to give you a sail-through pass at that point in time. How can I avoid this in the future? And so the point of this part of the presentation is to tell you that now. What happens is, you forget that you went through this presentation and you're sophomore and you're junior, and because you came through the sail-through area, you're thinking that's what check-in is like, and it's very pleasant. And so this is something you can expect year after year. So we want to let you know about that now. We do everything we can to make it pleasant, but I don't think there's a family who would say that that was a good way to spend their time. Okay, there is one other area that we probably want to talk about, and especially important if this is your first son or daughter that you are sending to college, something you probably didn't think about, but that is that they will need books and supplies. So we're talking about, for a typical freshman, could expect several $100s, $200 to $300 easy per semester. If your son or daughter is in nursing or perhaps legal studies, then you can expect that amount to be much higher. $500, $750, in that range is not unusual at all. So how do you plan for that? You probably weren't even thinking about that. So one of the things that you can do, and in your financial aid presentation, you probably heard something about this as well, but I'm going to repeat it here, and that is that you can increase your loans and so forth to include money for books. The disbursements, the actual money won't come into the college until, a month into the semester, but your son or daughter needs books the day they arrive. How do you accomplish that? The college knows that, so if you have planned ahead and borrowed sufficient funds to cover books, keep in mind that excludes work study. We can't include work study because that isn't guaranteed. It depends on the student working. But if you've borrowed sufficient funds, excluding work study, to pay for books, then we have that information, and your son or daughter can request that we move money from their student account. Funds aren't here yet, but we'll move them to their ID card now, or at the start of the semester, before the semester starts, if they want to come in early and purchase their books. We can move it onto their debit card. They can go to the bookstore and purchase their books. It is very useful. Many, many families pay for books in that manner, so I just wanted to make sure that you knew we could accommodate that and how we could do that. So that is an option. Student ID cards, as well as being used in the bookstore in that situation that I just talked about, they can also be used like debit cards just generally on campus. Of course, nowadays most students have their own debit card or they have their parents' credit card. If not, we do have some students where their parents will call in a payment for money to be applied directly to their student ID card to be used as a debit card around campus. It's a nice control mechanism. They can say, well, you have $50 for this period of time for your snacks and coffee, that's outside of the meal plan, and that's it. That's your budget. And so we can accommodate that. So you just need to let us know, call in, make a payment, and we'll put it right on their card.